Hello guys, welcome to this sixth part of the full SQL course for beginners. If you haven't already watched the first parts, you can find the link in the description. So in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about my SQL joins. So joins are used to combine rows from two or more tables depending on the related column between them. There are four types of joins. We have inner joins, outer joins, natural joins, and cross joins. For the inner join, which is also corresponds to the intersection, so the inner join keyword selects the rows that are in both tables, which means that it retrieves the intersection of the tables. As you can see here, for the blue area, it represents the intersection between table 1 and table 2, which means that the inner join will display for us the rows that are both present in table 1 and in table 2. For the left outer join, which is also called left join, it returns all the rows from the left table, which is table 1, and the rows that match from the right table, which is table 2. So if we have rows in table 2 that do not match the rows in table 1, they will be displayed as null values in the corresponding columns. Same thing for the right outer join, which is also called right join. It returns all rows from the right table, so table 2, and the rows that match from the left table. So same thing, if the rows in table 1 do not match with values in table 2, so they will be displayed as null values in the corresponding column. And we are going to display that when we go to the hands-on. For the full outer join, it retrieves all the rows from table 1 and table 2. So null value will be displayed in the columns of the first table if there is no match. And same thing, null value will be displayed in the columns of the second table if there is no match. In my SQL, there is no keyword for full outer, so we will use union. Now we have right outer join with null values. So it retrieves rows from the right table, which is table 2, that do not have a match with rows from the left table, which is table 1. For example, for the normal right outer join, we display all values from table 2, which is the right table, and the corresponding values in table 1. So if there is no match, we will have null values. For the right outer join with null values, we will display only the rows in table 2, which is the right table, that do not have a match in table 1. Same thing for the left outer join with null values, so it retrieves rows from the left table, which is table 1, that do not have a match with rows from right table, which is table 2. And same thing, we are going to understand that better when we go to the hands-on. Now we have the full outer join with null values. So as you can see here, it is the sum of the right outer join with null values and the left outer join with null values. So it retrieves rows from the left table, table 1 that do not have a match with rows from right table, which is table 2, and also it retrieves the rows from the right table, which is table 2, that do not have a match with rows from the left table, which is table 1. As you can see here, it is the opposite of the intersection. Now we have the cross join. So the cross join, it maps each row from table 1 to all rows from table 2. For example, if the total rows in table 1 equals to 3 and the total rows in table 2 equals to 3, then we will have a total of 9 rows as a result, which corresponds to the Cartesian product. For natural join, natural joins merge two tables based on the columns with the same data type, without specifying the column using on keyword like in inner join. So as we have seen in the inner join, we have to specify the column that we want to use to join the two tables. Whereas for natural joins, it will be done automatically and it will choose the columns with the same data type. And we'll understand that better when we go to the hands-on. Okay, so to understand that better, we're going first to create a new database. So we write create database and we call it joins. We execute that. We refresh to see the database. So it is in here. It doesn't have any table, so we are going to use our database. So we write use joins, which is the name of our database. Then we create our first table. So we write create table and we call it table 1. It will have two columns. The first column, it is called ID and it is an integer. And the second column, we call it name1 and it will be varchar, so it is a character, right? So we create the first table, then we create the second table. So we write create table, we name it table 2, so it will have only one column, which is a character. So we call it name2 and it is varchar, right? So we create table 2, then we create a third table. So we write create table 3 and also it will have only one column, which is an integer. Now for the first table, since we have two columns, so we insert values. So write insert into table 1 and we have one column for the ID and the second column for name 1. So here I choose arbitrary names You can choose any names that you want as long as it is a character. So we insert the values into the first table. We retrieve all the rows. So we write select all from table 1. So here we have all the rows from the first table. So we have ID and name 1, and we have 4 rows. The first column is an integer and the second column is a character. Same thing, we insert to table 2. As we have said, we have only one column. So we execute that. We write insert into table 2. We have the values. So same thing. Here we have the first row matches the first row, and also for the last row it matches the last row, whereas for the second and the third they do not match, so they are different. So select all from table 2, and we have our rows. So we have one column and 4 rows. The first one and the fourth they match with the first table, whereas for the second and the third they do not match. Here the table 3 we are going to add 2 values. This table 3 we are going to use it in natural joins, so we'll use it later on. So we insert values 1 and 4, same thing. Table joins 3 doesn't exist, so we didn't click here. So create table 3. Okay, now we will insert the values to table 3. Okay, and select all from table 3. So here we have 1 and 4, which equals to 1 and 4 from table 1. Okay, so here we have our 3 tables. If we refresh in here, so we have 3 tables. We have table 1, it has 2 columns. We have table 2, which has only 1 column. And we have table 3, same thing, it has only 1 column. Now, we start by the inner join. So as we have said, if you want to select, for example, you can select all, or you can write here the names of the columns that you want to select. So we select all from table 1. Okay, so the left table is table 1 and the right table is table 2. Okay, so we select all from table 1, inner join. Okay, so we create a join between table 1 and table 2. So it is an intersection on. So from table 1 we choose the column that is named name 1, and in the second table we choose the column that is called name 2. So they have the same data type, and we use that using the on keyword. Okay, so right, select all from table 1, inner join table 2. So we join table 1 and table 2 on. The column from the first table is name 1 and the column from the second table is name 2. So here we select the intersection. As we have said, we have the first and the fourth rows that are the same. Here, since we selected all, so it will give us all the columns. But for example, if you have a table that has 20 columns and the other one it has 19 columns, you can, for example, write here the names of the columns. For example, ID and name 1. Okay, for example, you can select only ID and name 1, or you can write all. Okay, so it depends on the task, right? So here we have the inner join. We don't have the null values and we have the intersection, which means that we have the rows that exist in both the tables. Same thing, now we execute the left outer join. So we write select all from table 1. So table 1 is the left table, and we write left outer join table 2. So we create left outer join between table 1 and table 2 on. Same thing, we choose the column. Okay, for the first table it is name 1, and for the second table it is name 2. So once we execute that, we will have all the rows from the first table, which is the left table. Okay, so we have here A, B, C, D, E, F, so we have all the rows. We have also the corresponding rows in the right table, okay, which is table 2, A, B, C, and KL. But if we don't have a match, it will display for us the null values. Okay, so we write select all from table 1, which is the left table, left outer join. So we'll write left outer join table 2, which is the right table on, and you write here the columns. So for from the first table we choose name 1, and from the second table we choose name 2. So it has selected for us all the rows from the table 1, the corresponding rows from the second table, and for the values that they do not match, we'll have null values. Okay? Same thing for the right outer join. So if we execute that, we will have all the values from the right table, which is table 2. So we'll have here all the values because we have chosen name 1 and name 2 as the columns that we use for the join. Okay, so right select all from table 1. Here also you can choose the columns that you want. Right outer join table 2. So we select all the rows from table 2. They are in here. And we select the corresponding rows that match from the first table. If they do not match, we put the null values. Okay, so automatically it will give us null values. So this is for the right outer join. It displays all the rows from the right table, which is table 2, and the corresponding values in the left table, which is table 1. So we have here the values. If we do not have a match, we display null values. It will be displayed automatically. Now, as we have said, for MySQL, we do not have the full outer join, so we are going to use union. So as we have said, union does not display for us or does not retrieve for us duplicates. Okay, so here we display the values that are in here in the first one, left outer join, and we use union with the right outer join. Okay, so that we get the result. Okay, so we display that. So here we don't have any duplicates, right? So we have matching values, and we have null values and null values. Okay, so here we don't have the duplicates. Same thing, we right select all from table 1, which is the left table, inner join, table 2, which is the right join, on. So we have selected the columns for the join. Union, same thing, we select all from table 1, right outer join, table 2, and we select the same thing, the columns. Now, if we want the full outer join with duplicates, so we use union all. Okay, so as you can see here, we'll have duplicates. For example, we have ABC, ABC twice, ABC, ABC twice, and same thing for ID equals to 4, we have it twice. Okay, so here we have duplicates. So if you want to retrieve rows without duplicates, you use union, and if you want to retrieve duplicates, you use union all. And as we have said, MySQL does not have full outer join keyword, so we have used union to union the left outer join and the right outer join in order to get our full outer join. Okay, now for the cross join, we have said that we do not use the on keyword, so it will be a Cartesian product between the first table and the second table, which means that it will map all the rows from the left table to the rows in the right table. Okay, so if we execute that, we'll have the following. So we'll have 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, and 4 times 4. So since we have 4 times 4, we will get 16 rows. Okay, and we have used here the order by, so we wanted to order by the table1.id. Okay, in order to get a clear result. So here, as you can see, for the cross join, we don't use the on keyword, so we don't specify the column that we want to use for the join. Okay, so it will be done automatically since it will link all the rows from the left table to the rows in the right table. Okay, so right select all from table, cross join table 2. So we create a join between table 1 and table 2 without specifying the name of the column. Okay, now as I said, I created table 3 to use it for the natural join. So same thing for natural join, we don't use the on keyword to specify the name of the column. Okay, and we write same thing, select all from table 1, natural join table 3. So as you can see here, it will automatically link the ID of the first table and the ID of the third table. Okay, it did not choose the name 1 because it is varchar, and it chose ID since it is an integer. So for the natural join, same thing. We don't use the on keyword to specify the name of the column, and it automatically chooses the column that it will use for the join depending on the data type. In our case, it is the ID column, which is an integer. Okay. Now for the left outer join, Okay, so we select all from table 1, left outer join table 2 on table 1. So this is the same thing as the left outer join. Okay, but we want to select, so we use the where keyword. Table2.name2 is null. Okay, we want to display the rows from the first table that do not have a match in the second table, so which means that table2.name2 is null. Okay, so here we display only the null values. So we have the second and the third columns. They do not have a matching value in table 2, which means that name2 is null. Same thing for the right outer join. If we execute that, we'll have the same thing. So we have said that for right outer join, it will display all the rows from the right table. And if there is no match in the left table, it will display for us the null value. But here we want only to display the null values. So the rows in the second table that do not have a match in the first table, which is the left table. Okay. Same thing for the full outer join in my SQL without duplicates, if null, opposite of intersection, which means that in the first case we have created the left outer join union right outer join to create the full outer join. Here we do the same thing, but we display only the null values. Okay, so the rows that do not have a match in each table. So the first two rows in here correspond to the left outer join with null values, and the last two rows is about the values in the second table that do not have a match in the first table. Okay, so that's it for the joins. I hope that you have understood the different types of joins and how they are used with their syntax. Thanks for watching and see you in the next tutorial.